This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Look at that. You can see now we've got this very beautiful little chief lying down by the drainage at the moment. He's not by his kill, and the weather is suitable for him to do some up and downs. Good morning and welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. My name is Sydney Fumunani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this morning. Our plan was looking for Osana, and we just been lucky and found him here. We are not far away from where he got a kill. I'm just going to pull forward after this sighting so that we can see if there's still much left by the kill. For in case if you need our attention, you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. So I am very sure he's going to enjoy his sleep this morning because it's overcast and it's a little bit chilly. So the rain is promising here around Juma. Maybe we might get some rain. Who knows? Thank you very, very much for all the comments about finding Hosanna. You can see now he's enjoying his deep sleep. So this kind of animals, the cats, not only specifically the leopards, they prefer to lie down after having a meal and after drinking water. That is when you will find them enjoying their sleep. But it's normal. Cats during the day, they sleep. This one, early in the morning like this, is when they're still active. But because he's got quite a lot to eat, that is why he's lying down here. He cannot think of doing anything. Deborah, no, that is true. You can see that, yeah, the stomach is looking full there. He's lying down and you can still see the side of the stomach that he has been eating a lot. So you can see that Hosanna is growing. He's looking very big at the moment. Look at that. So the tail looks smaller today. Wow, there you see is moving the tail now. So now let's go to the beginning of the guided walk this morning.
Hello, good morning everybody. We are on walk this morning. You know that, of course, because you can see that I'm not sitting in a car, but in fact on my feet. Yes, that means we are walking today. Good. Now we've established that, I must tell you my name. My name is James. For those of you who don't know, hello. Please talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. That means you can ask us questions or comments, send us insults, tell us how horrendous or how wonderful you think we are, or you can use the chat stream on YouTube. Now we have an animal for you, straight off the bat, can you believe it? And it is a wildebeest. One lone bull wildebeest, wondering why it is that he must go through his existence without company, without comfort, without solidarity. That is the lot of the Kruger bull wildebeest. What he will do is walk around the place, setting himself up some temporary territories, and those temporary territories he will then try to herd females into when they come by. The key to that statement is, of course, when they come by, which in this area is not very often because there aren't many wildebeest around. So he kind of lurks about the place, joins up with some impala for safety or some waterbuck for conversation, and then he goes off on his own and looks morose, and there's not much that can look more morose than a wildebeest. I don't think he's a rebel without a cause. I think he's I think he'd love to have a cause, really. I think his cause is to find love. But it's very difficult to find love on a dry and dusty clearing like this that seems to be devoid of any conspecific activity. Depressing, really. Louise thinks he should try Tinder. I don't think that that's a good idea, Louise. I've heard some bad things about Tinder, and as you say, swiping will be difficult with hooves. On that note, let us go back up to the Masai Mara, where there is a beautiful sunrise on the go. Here, there is just a thick blanket of cloud.
Jumbo Jumbo everyone, and a very good morning from the Mara Triangle. And as usual, our starting signature is always the beautiful sunrise from the eastern horizon, and those colors will always brighten your day as you start looking for the animals. My name is David, and with me on camera is James. Good morning, sir. James says a very good morning. And do you have any plans for the day, James? James says, no, but I got plans for you. I feel sorry for James, who has only just one wildebeest, and I'm sure he'll be very jealous. Just to remind him, we still got thousands and thousands of wildebeest in the Mara. Remember, our safari drive is always very interactive, so should you have any questions, should you have any comments, please send them through using hashtag SafariLive as usual on Twitter. Yesterday, we had 2 prides of lions that were eating, and I want to look for at least one of them. We had my favorite sausages, which were eating a buffalo, and Steve Ovo had another pride called the Olololos that were feeding on another buffalo. So at least I want to find out one of them, because what happens after they finish their kill, unless they move to an area that will have water to drink, they tend to remain in the same area. So I want at least to get one of those prides. That's my main plan for the day. But of course, 2 was there, and from there I could be seeing so many things. Some light showers we had last night, and lots of hyena calling. We had lots of hyenas last night, which means maybe the lions might have made another kill. Linda, good morning, and you say I have the best shuka in the world, and thank you very much, Linda. I love it, and the reason I have this shuka today is because it's a bit chilly. We are talking of 16 degrees, Linda, and about 61 degrees Fahrenheit. So that to me is a bit chilly, and not sure you've been to Africa, Linda. We got a group of people here in the Masai Mara called the Maasai, and they'll always have shukas with themselves. The Masai Mara, or the Mara Triangle, is called the Mara Triangle, the Masai Mara, because from the air you'll be seeing like small spots on the ground, a tree or a bush or a hill. But Maasai are the people who live around the park, not inside the game reserve, but around this area. And they're world famous for wearing shukas, and they got shukas of different colors. I love green, Linda. So make a plan one day, come visit us, we might get you a shuka like this. All right, feels good, feels cool, and a good time to get the leopards, but because you'd like to know, why don't we see as many leopards in the Mara? Leopards are here and leopards are everywhere, but I would say the same leopards you see in South Africa, the same leopards you see here. But here, they are a bit wild. I'm not sure, for lack of a better word, what I would use. But in Juma, it's very easy to spot them. And I would say they have more numbers of leopards than we have here in the Mara. And then the habitat is very different. In the Mara, we have that open plain. I'm going to stop here for a minute and show you what I mean by an open plain, and Jim's going to swing his camera and show you this openness, which leopards definitely will not like. You see the openness we have here, as James is showing you. This is not the right habitat for leopards. Leopards will prefer thickets or little forests. That's where they like to hide. As James Henry likes saying, I usually say they like to camouflage. So this is the savanna, and it's not the right habitat for the leopards. Leopards like wooded areas, thickets or forests, and areas with lots of trees. Sorry about my hair there. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So lots of savanna area here in the Mara, and leopards may prefer what you see in the background there, those bushes of forest. And it becomes very difficult because in the Mara also you cannot drive off the road. You have to stick to the roads, unlike in Joma in South Africa, where you can do lots of off-roading. Alrighty, moving on. And as soon as it gets much brighter, we'll be able to spot some leopards. We'll swing also by the Waffles. Clan Waffles is a clan of hyenas around this area. We'll be looking at how the time will go and maybe swing by the Waffles den and find out if she could be around. Let's go back to South Africa, to Sydney, and find out what Hosanna is up to.
You can see that the impala he caught 2 days ago is still hanging here by the jackalberry tree, and there is still quite a lot of meat available. It was a very big impala indeed. Look at that. So only the intestines has been removed there and some other small parts, but the whole side and the neck and the head and all the legs are still there. So he did not eat much here. Dory, I think one of the reasons why he is not eating a lot here is because this animal ate the little one. So the little one has been eaten. I didn't even see evidence of the little one since I heard it was caught yesterday. But what I'm seeing here is the full impala, which is a very convincing sign that he ate the little one yesterday. I don't think the little one is hiding somewhere here. He started from there. Otherwise, we were going to see quite a lot of damage on this kill here. So I'm just going to go back to where we saw Hosanna resting when we started, just to see if there is any developments, because he's just about less than 100 meters away from this big jackalberry tree. If Tingana comes here, he's going to have quite a lot of meat. So this impala is not yet eaten. He only ate a little bit there. Chris, that is true. Hosanna is a very clever leopard. He's a clever young leopard. He's hoisting the kill up to avoid competition. And earlier on, I saw a hyena passing by. I am not alone here by this sighting. Don't get surprised. There is some other vehicles who are also taking pictures and moving from one side to the next, trying to have a better position for pictures. So where he's looking now is where one of the hyena just got disappeared into. Oh, there's the hyena. That hyena is back. I can see there. Casti, Tingana must be somewhere here around, maybe having his own kill. Now that the impalas are having the lambs, chances of animals such as Tingana to eat most of the time just by themselves, they are very much high. Tingana is not yet tired. He has not yet retired from hunting, so he can still look after himself. Yes, he is coming here sometimes and take over the kills, but that does not mean he cannot catch by himself. He has been catching big animals. So you can see that now Osana is behind the tree. It's looking at the hyena. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to have to reverse so that I can see if we can have a good sighting from behind. So behind this bush, maybe it might be better. Not easy to see him, but here we've got the hyena. Under the tree is the one we can see nice and close. So you can see the hyena is just now standing under the jackalberry tree. So I can see some blood as well, showing that when he was pulling the animal up, there's blood here. So this hyena is just going around here. And now the hyena is going right under the tree where the small piece of meat was just falling when he was eating from the top. So this hyena is standing right under the impala there. So he's trying to sniff by all means, and the carcass is very far high up. There is no chance this hyena is going to get something here. Also on the ground, not much has fallen so far. Only the blood is what the hyena is sniffing at the moment. Oh, he did manage to pick up a small bone. So the hyenas can travel long distances. Yesterday, I was so very impressed when one of the hyenas came, and the Osana was just lying down on the dam wall. And when this hyena came, he went past. He was going towards Galagopen, and the wind changed direction, and the wind was on his favor. And as soon as that happened, he then decided to turn and follow the wind until he get to the tree. So you can see how amazing their sense of smell are. So they will also have a lot of meat now, because when the little ones, lambs, are coming, they're not only coming for the leopards, also the hyenas. It's their time to eat a lot. So Osana is... So now let's go back to the guided walk while I'm trying to find a better spot for you.
What we have here seems to be a bit of tail. I'll get back to that 1 second. Come over here, everybody. Herbert has spotted something. I don't think it's anything dangerous. Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's quite sad as well. It's a baby impala on its own with no mummy. Just here. Now, where could the mother be? I wonder if there wasn't some separation yesterday, or when that windy storm came through, of a few of them. Maybe this one's mother is the one hanging in the tree with Hosanna. Remember, we had that other ewe yesterday during that distressing scene when Hosanna was playing with her baby impala. A ewe came in on the back end of hearing the groans and grunts and bleats, I suppose, of the young impala. So there are definitely ewes around that are losing their lambs. And that poor little thing does not look in a good way. No, everybody, this is not the same one as yesterday. Yesterday's one was dead, and I'm pretty sure it's been eaten as well. This is a different one. Confused, doesn't know what to do. His neurological pathways not yet fully developed, and so doesn't have any instinctual response to us here other than to lie still in the absence of its mother. It's possible that it's so new that its mother has moved off on hearing us and left it lying here, and that when we move off it will come back, because of course the females do separate from the herds to give birth, and if she'd just given birth and they hadn't rejoined a herd, then it's possible that she heard us coming down the road, ducked off into the bush and left this little one instinctually keeping very still, hoping to come back and find it here. I think it looks slightly too dry and slightly too large for that, but it's not impossible. Let's hope that's the case, because then the mother will come back. Caroline, the desire and overwhelming sense that I need to go and give it a cuddle, very strong. But I don't think I will, because much as I might think it would be comforting to give that thing a cuddle, I think were I to envelop it in a bear hug and squeeze it and rub my face against it, I think it would feel pretty much the same as it would have if Hosanna was doing the same thing, but for the razor claws sticking into the skin. Carol, I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. If an adopted or an orphaned lamb would be adopted by a female who had lost her little one, I don't think so. It's horrible to watch, isn't it? Let's hope that Mum is quite close by. I'm going to suggest we leave this little thing and not create any more stress in its life. Bye-bye, little guy. Eduardo, it's obviously slightly more common than we think it is for them to be separated from their mothers. You know, whether that's a separation or Mum, like I say, is just ducked off into the bush, I don't know. It probably happens on dark nights with wind and rain, and if the herd gets startled or spooked by something, well then they can all bombshell in different directions, and suddenly in the darkness the little one finds it's on its own. And I think the default instinct is then to go quiet, not to start walking around bleating. Because if they walk around bleating, of course, they're just inviting trouble for themselves and for the herd. So you might find they got separated in the night, and that thing's default response was to just go to ground, which is probably the best strategy. Paula, I guess a lamb could survive on its own, but I mean that within the herd from the day it's weaned. So they wean, I think, at about 3 months. They wean pretty early, 2 to 3 months. I think 2 to 3 months you'd find that as long as the security of the herd was close by, and therefore it didn't have an enormous chance of being savaged by predators, I think you'd find an impala lamb could last. What I wanted to show you before we found that impala was that little bit of tail. I'm not sure what it came off, perhaps a scrub hare, but perhaps something like a woodland dormouse. They do lose their tails if they're held on to too much. And then we were going to have a look in that Wahlberg's eagle's nest. Didn't see a Wahlberg's eagle there now, But I have seen them back in that nest. When was it? About 2 days ago, because I was a bit worried that they weren't going to breed again this year. And I'm not sure that they are necessarily, but perhaps they're going to make an effort. I have yet to see the entire family there, the new family of one pale form and one chocolate form in that nest, so I don't really know what's going on with them. And the ones down south near Twin Dams, one chocolate form and one pale form, don't seem to be there at all. They arrived first this year, and now I don't know where they're nesting. Maybe they've made another nest. Alrighty. Apparently David is so inspired by the coming of the sun today that he's going to show it to you again.
So you can see now that the little chief is now up and running. He's trying to listen to the other vehicle which has just arrived there by the other side. So you can hear some of the Francolins are also giving off some of the warning calls. Maybe somewhere nearby there must be something approaching. Maybe a prey animal, or it might be a hyena still walking around here trying to search if there's any chance of a male or another hyena coming apart from the one we saw earlier. If not, maybe it's another cat. Daniel, if you check at the leopard, when you look at the leopard tracks, you will see that they have got the digits, the tracks here where you will see the claws on top. On the side, they do have the dew claws, and they even got the capasal as well. You will see the black dot there on his foot. Front foot is clearly, you will see it by the front foot there. So they do have the dew claws. So I can see now that he is moving and stretching. Maybe it's the time for him now to go back to the kill. Oh, he's lying down again. So I'm just going to try and reposition. It's not going to be easy at the moment, as I can see that the other vehicles are right at the better spot at the moment. So these animals can easily change. Or maybe we will be able to see him nicely from this angle here. Not easy, but so I can see now is the time for him to wake up. He's sniffing there, trying to investigate something. Let's see what he's digging for us there. So he's lying down again. You can see nice and clear looking at us at the moment. The stomach looks very full. You can see he's got some markings on top of the nose here. First time for me to see those little markings like scars. I can promise you this cat is going to be here for quite some time. Looking at that stomach now is clearly seen. It's nice and big already. He got quite a lot this morning. Sure, I didn't get your question clearly. If you can repeat that. The leopards, they also do that. They pair. These are also cats. So the behavior of the domestic cats, some of them are much more similar to these very big cats. So it's just that the domestic cats, they don't have that very thick, strong voice. Here you will hear them sawing from quite a long distance as well. So you can see the ears and how he's turning is telling you that he's investigating something from far. Caught, indeed, this is an amazing cat. So mostly when this cat is relaxing like this, I get guided by their interest because they can see and smell far, and sometimes they can see something I cannot see, but by concentrating on his movement, I can be able to pick up who's coming. So anytime soon, we might have Hosanna in his territory. He will be now, he will be 3 years old by the 2nd of February, somewhere second week or first week of February, which means he's growing old and the testosterone level is getting high every time. Soon, in about a year, 2 years' time, we might see him in his territory. So you can see that it's not easy for us to see the dew glow. This cat caught something a night before yesterday and is still hanging, and not much damage has been done there. And yesterday morning he caught a lamb, and that is what he ate. I am sure when looking at the stomach and the damage which is by that impala left by the tree, I can tell that he did not eat a lot, which means he is now fine from what he got from the little one. He only ate the lamb. The impala is not yet touched. He opened and got something from the intestine. I can see that he is interested too much on stomach juice. So there, the stomach juice has already been taken out. If any other animal comes here when the stomach is full like this, he's still going to take another try. It's normal. These animals, they are born to kill animals. So those whiskers you are seeing there, they've got what is called the proprioceptors. At the tip of the whiskers, they've got very strong sense organs which are connected to their nervous coordination and which sends information to the brain. In order for them to measure the gap in between the branches and to detect the distance and the size of anything coming at night. Also on top of the eyes, you can see they use that. So they don't only rely on the hearing and eyesight. These are very much sense organs. So if you shade these whiskers, I can promise you he's going to get disorientated. Oh, and there he goes again. It's time for him to sleep again. So their digestive system needs much time in order to dissolve a lot of meat taken. They are unlike birds. Birds has got a very strong and fast digestive system which can be able to dissolve the fruits in a very short space. 2-3 hours, everything is done. But here, after eating a lot of meat, they've got to lie down too much for that digestive system to work out everything. So now let's cross over to the guided walk. James is just about to get you something interesting.
There are lots of interesting things going on here at the moment. What we've heard are some lions calling, and they're calling not too far from here. We think probably about half a mile away from where we are now. So we're going to walk there quite quickly. If they are calling, quite possibly they're moving as well. Then we've got tracks of Tingana going down this very prominent game path. He's heading to the south. We have tracks of Tundi and Tlalamba just further north of here. They went off to the east. So there's lots to look at, or lots to look for, should we say. But we're going to go and see if we can't find those lions, because they are shouting. And we're on Tingana's path anyway, so we might be lucky. So please excuse the roughness of our movement, but we do need to get going. 2T, as far as I'm aware, Tundi and Tlalamba have not been seen together for a while. I was just saying, when we saw the tracks of Tundi, so I think Seb said, what about Tlalamba? And I said, I don't think you'll see them together again. It will certainly not be often. And we found her tracks as well. Well, I say we, I mean Herbert, of course. So they are obviously still moving around a little bit together. So please do excuse the pace at which we're walking. But it would be very nice to see these cats on foot. Alright, I think we've sorted out our audio and technical and various other issues with the Mara, so let's go back to David, who's got some hyena of the sky.
Well, James, keep running, because one of the guys that I know is physically fit is James. I'm sure you have always seen him when he climbs trees. He is always very fit, and hopefully he's going to catch up with those lions. But in the meantime, we have come back to one of the scenes of crime from yesterday, where we had lions that brought down a buffalo. And these were the Olololos, which we had a very unusual sighting with Steve, where the Olololos came together with the Owinos, and they shared this buffalo, or what used to be a buffalo here. And we got the vultures, and I think a Tony eagle there, that are trying to finish what was left behind. I'll tell you for a fact about the vultures, they have no dining manners, they have no table manners, and you can see they'll always push and shove, and it's like your speed makes the whole difference, and how much you can grab at a given time. You see the booted eagle there, and you can see one of the differences between the eagles and the hawks. We are very lucky to see very good on this Tony eagle here, or is it the steppe eagle that got boots, or the legs are all feathered. You can see the gap under the eye goes right behind the eye, and he tends to eat, or she tends to eat on her own and not mixing with the others. Now the vultures there definitely have outnumbered her. They come in very handy in cleaning our environment, the vultures, together with the hyenas. As much as the hyenas will hunt for themselves, the vultures tend to deal with what's left behind by the predators. Most of the vultures here are the white-backed, African white-backed vultures, but a few of the Rupert's griffon vultures. Mr. Public, you're not sure of your manners, or the manners. Okay, let's go across first to James very quickly.
We've got a hippopotamus here on foot, which is very unusual out of the water. We're not going to follow it. You might just be able to see it moving through the bush there. We had a lovely view to start with. There it goes. But we're not going to go following it because that would be asking for trouble. It's always interesting. We find their tracks all over the place often. And you don't expect them to see them out of the water at this time of the day. Yeah, I think we'll probably leave him. Yes, and the reason you don't go following hippos through the bush, of course, is that they are very easily threatened, very easily made afraid, and while he would almost certainly run towards any water there isn't any water around here, and so he could easily turn around and take offence at our presence. Anyway, I'd hoped to show you a slightly better view, but alas, we didn't manage to do that. Carol, I don't think that the lions are going to find the hippo. Lions in that direction. We've probably closed about a third of the distance to where we heard them calling. We'll be certainly listening out to see if they call again. Sounds to me like they've come from the south, and so possibly coming north, and that's why we're kind of on a trajectory to try and head them off. Head them off sounds like we're trying to catch them. We just want to see them. All right, let's go back to David with his lion kill. The Owinos, I think it was, and the Ololos. 4 of the males there. Very interesting.
Well, I think Mr. Public was saying he also doubt which manners, he would have when using hands to eat, and that was a great comment. But it's true because these vultures here do not have the silverware to dig in, and it is their speed that makes the whole difference in digging in as much flesh as they can. And the carcass you see there is what was a buffalo at one time. Now, we have had migration that has been going on here for the last couple of months, and most of these wildebeest now have headed south to Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, and now the lions have to start practicing to bring down the buffaloes. It's always not very difficult to bring down the wildebeest or the zebras, and it's always a toughie, or it's not always easy to bring down a big prey like a buffalo or a giraffe or even an eland. Very big call from an elephant in the background. Now, the tawny eagle is still struggling, not sure what to do there, because the vultures have just surrounded the carcass, and she's just standing on what should have been or was the stomach contents from the buffalo. If you look on his legs or the tarses, you can see the feathers, how they get covered by feathers, or what we say booted tarses, which is a very big characteristic. Did you get yourself something? Well, she's struggling to get some piece of either flesh or some stomach contents. Very similar to the steppe eagles, but if you look, they got a yellow gap right on the beak that comes right behind the eye on the steppe eagles. But this tawny eagle is wondering whether she can push her way through to the vultures and get herself something. Hooked beak, like most eagles, which helps them to rip flesh. And you tend to see the tawny eagles on their own. She's trying to make her way through, very close to the vultures, but I don't think she got a chance here. Just getting any scraps that is being left by these vultures behind. The lions are gone, and I'm thinking they might have gone for a drink somewhere, and then they just laid flat. A fully grown buffalo, I'm talking about 700 kilograms or 1,500 pounds, and for about 10 lions, that was a lot of flesh. MDR, you're wondering whether this eagle may have a chance to chase off these vultures, and I would highly doubt that may not happen because she has been outnumbered by these vultures. if anything that would just move these vultures from here would be hyenas, MDR. Just hyenas would do that. Or there's another type of vulture. There's one that we call the lappet-faced vulture, or the vulturine, which are rather huge, that go in twos. If those two would come here, they would intimidate all these vultures and they would start eating. But I highly doubt this particular one have any chance to move away these vultures here. They're just too many numbers. Sometimes numbers out in the wilderness make the whole difference. Size and numbers, but I think in this particular case, it is the numbers. Very strong beaks they got. They're just like, daggers, or like what surgeons would use. Because the moment they just dig in, they come out with some flesh. And straight away they swallow. And if any of these would be having any chicks, they'll go back and regurgitate what they have eaten to their chicks. So they need to eat a lot for themselves and for their chicks if they would have any. Tony, you go very poor for you, but that's the other part. And those could be the internal organs. Those three are eating there. Mr. Public, I wouldn't think anybody else would be joining here to share this meal. The best I've seen is hyenas and vultures sharing a meal if things are very tight. That means when they don't have much of a choice to eat and there's limited supply of food. I've seen two scavengers, when I would call hyena scavengers, as much as they hunt for themselves, they would eat on one side and the vultures on the other side. But if the hyenas would grow in number, say 10, 15 of them, they'll just try and intimidate the vultures, or even try and bite them. And these vultures are not going to leave this kill until maybe the hyenas come. And what the hyenas will do during the day when they're just scouting for food, they always tend to look on trees, and if they see vultures on trees, they'll always get closer there. But at the moment, all the vultures here are on the ground. The redness on the carcass tells you it's barely 24 hours old. It was brought down yesterday afternoon. Sorry, I lost the question on Tonza. Bring it again. James, let's go across to him now.
We've got lions on foot here. We can hear them calling. We think he's just up over here. Louise, if you're going to go with the unscheduled, let's go now. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this bushwalk in the Greater Kruger National Park. My name is James, and we are just about to walk in on some lions. We've heard them on foot, we've heard them calling, and we think they're just over the top here. Ask us any questions you'd like to. It's extremely exciting to be doing this on a Friday morning. Okay, we're going to try and be slow and careful, not make any noise. We just heard him calling here. We thought he was right here. We could easily be flat on the ground. If he sees us, he will most likely just melt off into the bush. So we need to try and be as stealthy as possible. There's some impala running over there. Probably just off the road here. See it come to the side of me. There's the lion. Okay, we've got a view of him. There he is, he's moving. Ah, he's unfortunately seen us, and he's moving away. This bush is very thick, and so I'm not sure we're going to get a decent view of him. If it was an open clearing, he'd be much more willing to stand and just have a look at us. I'm not sure if he managed to see him there at all. I don't think he did. All I saw was a tawny shape melting through the bush. Let's try and stay close here. Valerie, we're creeping up on a lion because we're trying to track him down so that we can see him and view him, because that's what we do out here, and then we can call in vehicles who will manage to get much closer to him. But often the best way to find cats is on foot, because you can move off the road where the vehicles cannot. He's melted down into this drainage line here. Darren, we won't get eaten, or we'll try not to. I think he's gone down here. Just going to move nice and slowly, because he could get a fright. We don't want that. Joe, for me to answer that question and say that human activity has no impact on these animals' lives, I think would be dishonest. Yes, we have an effect on their lives. It's not always a negative effect, though. Our activity here, of course, while it is not necessarily optimal for them, what it does mean is that, you know, more and more people fall in love with this wilderness, and the tourism in this area pays for huge swathes of land to stay under wildlife. So there are pros and cons. Yes, our presence here affects animals, no question. But it's not always negative. Now, he wandered down in this direction, and I think we were both hoping that he'd cross over this little river and just start and walk through there. Well, let's just give it 1 minute to see if we can't see where he is. Just listening quite carefully. No. I don't know if we're going to see him or not. We'll keep on trying, and then we'll come back live again. But for those of you who have just joined us, thank you for joining us. You can follow the rest of the safari where there are other leopards and lions currently being viewed. You just go to YouTube, type in SafariLive, and you will find the rest of the game drive. Until next time, bye-bye. Okay, everybody, we'll still have another look around here. I'm not sure we're going to see him again. There's one male, big male, adult male. Anyway, while we keep looking, let's go across to Sidders, who was with a cat, not hiding.
So now you can see that we are still here with Rosanna, who is now still lying down, and I'm even thinking about to go and look for something different, as nothing is happening here at the moment. You can see the necklace there. It's not clear at the moment, but looks very beautiful. Look at that. So now I have just heard the lions roaring not very far away from where we are. It's coming from, the noise is coming from the eastern side of the game reserve, and maybe we're gonna go and hang around there just to try if we can see them. I haven't seen also the lions for quite a long time. Yes, I heard James has been lucky on a guided walk with the lions this morning. It looks like I don't have the comms at the moment from the FC. I'm just trying to do some comms tests at the moment. I can't hear my funnel control at the moment. Maybe they have been looking for me and they cannot find me, as I can't hear them at all. FC, come here. So you can see now Hosanna is about to be active. But it looks very tired at the moment still. You can see again he's lying down. So we're just going to leave him here. We will come back again later on and see if we can find him. So now let's quickly cross over to David in the Masai Mara.
No problem, everybody. Sorry about that. We can still hear what's going on. We're still sort of on the trail of this male lion. I don't think we're going to see him again, though. Some porcupine dung, if you are interested in dung. That's porcupine dung. It's quite a nice, rich, sort of merlot colour, really. Wonder what it was eating. There's likely some tannin-rich bark. That's why it's that colour. I was just saying as we went off air, as soon as you try and track something or try and view something that you need to be quiet for, you realize how amazingly noisy we are as a species. And it's because our feet are just not designed to be put down like a cat's paws. You know, we kind of, even though we think we're walking quietly, we thump around on foot. Unless you really walk like this. But it's very inefficient walking like this. Okay, there are no other feeds, I'm afraid, at the moment. It's only us. No more tracks. I think he went down into this riverbed. And I wonder if he didn't go the other side. Okay, we're going to go down here. Being careful as we go, not to stumble upon him, because then he'll get very cross. Aegis, being on foot or in the car, pros and cons, pros and cons. The excitement of seeing a lion like this is amazing on foot, but obviously you don't get close and you can't examine their behavior very carefully. So, yeah, I like being on foot, but I also like being in the car where I can make a real study of what we're seeing. I'm sure it's the same for most of you. You know, you like being on foot with us because it's exciting to find something on foot. But then if we were only on foot, you know that you wouldn't ever get the same close views of the leopards and lions and other things that you like to. Sharon, you're wondering if anyone lives in these reserves, human being-wise. Well, other than the staff that live on the lodges and tourism operations that there are, and the game guards, so people directly employed to be here, no. There are no villages inside the reserve. South Africa has a very, what shall we say, fortress mentality to conservation. So there's a fence, and as soon as you're outside the fence, you're into community lands. Whereas in East Africa, for example, the line is a lot more blurred. If you go up the Olololo escarpment, the reserve just kind of bleeds into the Maasai villages. And, you know, there's quite a lot of overlap. Animals go out into the villages all the time. But interestingly there, the Maasai don't eat game. So you will find giraffe and wildebeest and topi knocking about in the villages. Whereas if an impala or zebra walked out of the fence here, it would almost certainly be hunted and eaten within probably about 2.5 nanoseconds of its escape from the fence. It's a very different kind of philosophy, both culturally and from a conservation point of view, different parts of Africa. There are very good reasons for that, but basically very, very different in both places. That's not to say one is more effective than the other. Certainly there are arguments for both, for fences and for this kind of semi-open system, if you like. We're going to carry on along the road here. Herbie's just going to check down there. Somewhere around here there is a male lion with us. It's very bizarre. They've lost all communications with the other feeds. I'm the only one they can hear. I'm not sure if somebody hasn't unplugged something by mistake somewhere along the line. So I'm afraid you're just going to have to stick with us. Got some sunbirds calling. I think we've gone the wrong way for this lion. I think he's gone the other way. There's always going to be a bit of a lottery. Herbie's looking for the actual tracks. So we'll stop here at the junction and see if we can't see something. It's very dangerous, of course, to be just looking like this for the tracks, because suddenly you look up and you'll be in front of a lion or the hippo. Hippo is coming down this way too, so we need to be quite careful. Well, let's stop here and listen. So if a lion charged me, what I would do is turn around. I would trip Seb up so that he fell on the ground, and then I would run away. And Seb would hopefully then be eaten instead of me.
That's working with your chance.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's basically the rule. The old adage goes that, you know, you don't have to be faster than a lion. You just have to be faster than one member of your party, and then you should be safe. Now, if a lion charged, you just have to stand still. And people will say, don't look at them in the eye. Don't look at them in the eye. So I've watched people being charged by lions doing this. They don't notice if you look at them in the eye. It's best to keep a look at them. And then I'd shout. I'd make a big, loud noise. Probably quite high-pitched. You know, that would be a mistake, or not a mistake. It would be unintentional to make a high-pitched noise, but that's probably what I would do. And I would probably swear quite a lot too. And then hopefully the lion would stop. Mostly they do. They only push through an attack and try and eat a human being if they're sick or have realized how easy we are to catch as prey. Because, of course, compared with an impala or a buffalo or something like that, we are very easy to catch. It's not that they get a taste for blood or a taste for human flesh. It's just the ease with which they catch us. What do you think, Herb? Yeah. Should we just go through the block, or what do you think? Okay. Or do you think he'll just run? Let's try him. We'll try him once more. Costa, the animals that have given me the biggest fright, buffalo, definitely, in camp. Buffalo in camp when I lived at Londolozi were the ones that gave me the biggest frights. Because, you know, inevitably I'd leave a torch behind, or my torch would run out of batteries or something like that, and you'd be walking along and suddenly you'd look to the side and there'd be a buffalo going and of course that's extremely dangerous, because a buffalo who gets a fright in a camp is possibly one of the most dangerous animals you can come across. So that's definitely what's given me the biggest frights before, not cats. And I still actually struggle with the psychology of that, because it still sticks in my mind that a pride of lions should be far more terrifying than 6 buffalo. But almost universally the lions will get up and run away, or take a few steps forward and growl and then move off. But a buffalo, if it wants to find you, can be an extremely dangerous prospect. Alright, I seem to have found some more communications in the Mara, so let's go back to David and see what he's found you. God, what a long...
Anakuja kwangu. Well, so sorry about the technical issues we are having this morning, and you know, with Sydney and me earlier, but now I think I am back in action. I had a giraffe before that I've been following, and James thinks we can get it from here. And the giraffe has been shifting from one tree to another, and it has gotten to another, that could be a bosque tree, where he is now. It's much shorter than the other trees that he was browsing on. Very tall animals, and have the advantage to reach food which any other animal would not be able to. And this is the Maasai giraffe. And apart from the body patterns of all the different types of giraffes that we got in Africa, everything else remains the same. The gestation period, feeding habit, they are all of them, they are all browsers. And browsers would mean they only get small little leaves or twigs or thorns or branches, and it's very difficult or almost impossible to see a giraffe eating grass. And very interesting, when you see them drop the poo, they are like small little pellets, which are even much smaller than all those of zebras. If you get both of them to the same place and you ask a guest, I think it's Steve who does the Poo Tuesdays, and you ask a guest or the scat or what midden that would be, many people have always mixed the one for the zebra to be of the giraffe and vice versa. But giraffes also happen to have very, very fine digestive system. Further north of Kenya, you'd see a different type of giraffe that is called the reticulated giraffe. And as I said, the body pattern make the difference between the two. And that one looks like a fishing net if you look at the patterns on their bodies. Remember, we do a very interactive safari. Should you have any questions, you may ask. And right to the left of that giraffe on that branch, James, if you look carefully, there's a small little oxpecker. The direction that giraffe is facing, on that right there on that branch, you can see a small little bird there, and that is an oxpecker. We've got 2 types of oxpeckers in Kenya, the red-billed or the yellow-billed oxpeckers. And what we'll do, the oxpecker will jump to the giraffe and get some parasites. See, the oxpecker is just enjoying sitting on that particular branch. Giraffes could be anything to do, let me see, about 3 and 3. almost 5 meters, and I'm talking about the males. Giraffes about 5 meters tall, and the females could be anything 4 to 4.5 meters in height. It's roughly the height of giraffes, males being a slightly bit taller than the females. Alright, we'll move on now, and hopefully I'm gonna catch my lions. James, are you happy if we move on? Okay. This area also happened to be very good with ostriches because it's very open, and there's certain Lou, I think we'll need to come out of this area completely. It's not the best area.
Okay, everybody, sorry about that. Not sure what these issues are. Very painful, very irritating. What we've done is we've come down and around onto the road here, and we are walking along wondering if perhaps we won't see the tracks of the lion coming across here. We haven't seen any tracks. He could have just skipped across the road quickly and then we wouldn't have seen him. But this is roundabout on the other side of this riverbed where we started, or where we just saw him floating through the bushes. So we'll just see if we don't get very lucky, but I don't think we're going to. Sydney has had to return to camp to try and fix his problem with his car. Ooh, no, it hasn't started yet. There's a big leopard orchid up in this tree over here, but I don't think it's started to flower yet. I have seen one of them starting to flower. Let's have a quick look. A leopard orchid up in the top of that tree, but it hasn't started flowering. I have tried to get to that leopard orchid before. The tree looks pretty climbable until you get up into the top boughs, because the branch on which the orchid is growing is hollow. And so while you could possibly shimmy along it, the chances of it snapping and then you're plummeting 25 meters to the floor are quite strong. So I've never succeeded in getting to the leopard orchid there. You'll hear that they survive by the leaves that fall into the basket that's formed there. But you can see that there are not going to be any leaves falling into the basket of that leopard orchid. And so it is surviving through photosynthesis, and of course through probably picking up the odd bit of nutrient from the air, like an air plant. And as far as I'm aware, they are unable to digest or parasitize the wood on which they're sitting. And so that plant's nutrients comes from water, sunlight, of course, carbon dioxide, and the air. It has no attachment to the ground whatsoever. You do find them in trees that have leaves, and then those leaves do tend to fall into the middle of the plant, but I'm not sure exactly how much composting effect that actually has. So that is Ancelia africana, the leopard orchid. We do get Ancelia gigantea as well, and I am incapable of distinguishing the two until they come out with their flowers. One has brown spots, one doesn't have any brown spots. Do you think I can remember which is which? No, I cannot. 50-50 chance. Let's continue. I'm sad we didn't get a better view of this lion, I must say. Oiram, this is actually a very easy question to answer. The reason the termite mounds in the Mara are so much smaller is that the soil is so much wetter and so much clayier. It's got so much more clay in it. And the big mounds here are big because they're normally on well-drained sandy soils, and the termites' general kind of, I suppose, crucial limiting factor is water. So they must get to water, and they get to water by digging down to the water table and then packing the soil on top that they dig out. And so the deeper the water table, the higher the mound is likely to be, or the bigger the mound is likely to be. So that's why they're bigger here, because of course in the Mara the soil is very clay, it holds a lot of water, which means they don't have to dig down quite so deep to get to it. These shoes are very effective, but not very grippy. What else do I want to say? Oh yes, in other parts of the Sabi Sands, you will find low mounds because we've got a homogeneous kind of soil here, well-drained sandy soils. But in other parts of the Sabi Sands, you do find black cotton soil like you do in the Mara, and then you'll find very low termite mounds, or none at all. We've got some ants here. Now these are red ants of some description. They look like drop-tailed ants, and I suspect quite well Seb is stuck on a tree. I suspect quite strongly that these ants are going to go off and try and kill something, because they are carnivorous, these drop-tailed ants. Here, look, they've caught something already. They've raided something. Here we go.
Yeah, I've got stuff here.
Have you got them?
Yeah.
The little bits of white.
Yes.
These look like eggs. Are they eggs?
Yeah, it looks like eggs.
I'm going to steal one from one of these ants. Give that to me, you nasty raiding creature. Oh wow. They've discovered the nest. They've discovered the nest of some creature, and this is the nymph of that creature. I'll just stand all over the ants. You see?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's not a cicada. A nymph is an immature insect that doesn't have a larval stage. So like a caterpillar, of course, is the larva of a butterfly. Whatever this insect is, it doesn't have a larval stage. Might be a mantis, as Louise suggests. I'm being savaged by nasty, raiding, drop-tailed ants. One of them was carrying something green. Here we go. No, that was looked like a bit of chewed-up leaf. So they found a nest of some creature underneath this tree, and they are carrying off these little nymphs. Maybe they're grasshoppers. I don't know what they are. I feel like I should be able to tell. Go away, you horrible things. Fascinating. They'll be taking them off to their nest to eat them. And the nymphs, I think, are probably just hatched, or are in the process of hatching, because they certainly weren't moving. Yes, exactly, Moshe. The black dot is an eye on the nymph of that creature. I don't know what it is, though. Come. They actually don't bite. Oh, yes, they do. They definitely do bite. All right, we're going to go to the tech loop. Stream is offline. This morning is a bit of a Heath Robinson.
Welcome back, and apologies for the inconveniences. I am still here around the Juma pen where Hosanna is just sleeping at the moment. I'm just going to check with him again just for the last time before I move on and see what I am going to show you next. It's getting cold this morning. Oh, here comes the blue wildebeest. He's also from drinking at the pan. The sunset safari is always lovely for me. The morning safari, yes, they are interesting, but I like too much to go out on a sunset safari. Look at that. So this is the blue wildebeest. He has just been to the water hole, the Galago pen. He's just by himself. I'm not seeing the other wildebeest nearby. Normally, the males, you will see them just walking by themselves. Wildebeest, they do form some of the groups during the non-breeding season. They congregate during the non-breeding season. So the sense of smell on this animal passing by is excellent. But the eyesight is very poor. A lot of wildebeest died because of a certain kind of disease, which is called a tanning disease. A tanning disease, it affects them because of a certain insect called a botfly. This insect lays their eggs inside the nose of this wildebeest. That is why wildebeest sneeze too much during the rainy season. When those insects are back, they lay their eggs inside the nose, and the larvae of the insects can go up to the brain and disturb the sense of balance. As a result of that, you will see the wildebeest tanning, falls over and dies. The illness is called a tanning disease. You can see that the wildebeest just decided to go very quickly, heading towards the eastern side of the game reserve. I'm going to carry on now back to Hosanna and see what's happening before we take the next move. So I've just heard the lions roaring earlier from the eastern side as well of the reserve. We might go that side and see if we can see some actions this morning. So the weather is suitable for this kind of the cats, predators to hunt. So every time I hear any sign of a cat, I've got to investigate very quickly and see what is going to happen. I left Hosanna here and he's still there, lying down still. He did not move at all. So you can see that he's so very flat and he didn't take any step at all. So which is something making me to decide and go and look for something else. Come back here later. Maybe it's when he will be active, going back to eat by his jackalberry tree, where he just hoisted the kill yesterday. So those are the francolins. Normally, when any of these animals are walking towards the nest, they also make noise. So now let's cross over to James.
Well, number one, my apologies. I've been off here for quite some time. Lots of gremlins this morning. And I would guess it's because of the massive rains maybe we have been having. Found this one big male elephant just on his own, wandering and walking around and grabbing any pieces of grass or plants as he keeps moving on that bosque tree. Now see what I was just talking about a few minutes ago with giraffes. Elephants, look at that sighting. Want to bring that branch down? Let's see. How cute was that, eh? So the only other animals that have known to go or to reach food that high are the elephants. He just either stopped, either to listen to something, one more time. And sometimes they raise their front legs and stand on their back legs. You see that? Excellent. It's good to listen to me, Ellie. Wow. Look at that and see how clever these animals are. One, he has taken advantage of his own height, and then with an extension of his long trunk. Yes, and Lou in the final control says, that was very cool. I haven't seen that for quite some time. And it's funny, I was just talking about it a few minutes ago when we had the giraffe trying to reach some very top leaves of the bosquet tree, and before it was the torchwood tree. And I said the only other animals that could do that are the elephants, and speak of the devil, here we have the elephant doing exactly that. So bring the whole branch down, and to see the strength of these animals, I would imagine they got wonderful or very strong teeth. When you think that that whole branch will go in his mouth, you like, it's not possible. But that might happen now. The times he'll just suck the little stem and get the juice from it, or just crush it and eat it depending on what they're looking for. Flapping the ears a little bit, not as warm as I would say, but sometimes they just keep flapping the ears to keep the flow or to keep the temperature of their bodies down. Nancy, elephants, when they make a stride, is roughly a meter when they make a stride. But I'll tell you, Nancy, elephants we have known, they do not run, but the strides they make, if they need to move fast, they are much faster than any animal that could be running. You might see them like where he is. I'm guessing he's about, 100 meters away from where we are, and he can cover that in seconds. That 100 meters, he can cover that in seconds. And as I said, elephants will not run, but when they make the stride, they are very fast. The only other thing I have not seen elephants do is to jump. So I've never seen elephants jumping per se or running, but they make very fast strides, and you'll not believe their big or their huge body sizes will allow them to move that fast. Especially if there's a concern, and a truck will give instructions to the herd. You need to move, you need to get out of here. You see them moving very fast. And you can tell he's a very relaxed boy by the flick of his tail. When elephants are in that kind of body language, they're telling you all is good. Rosemary, you'd want to know whether elephants have a neck, and I do not think so. When you look at that big boy there, it's like the head is glued to the body, Rosemary. And now this also reminds me of the warthogs. If you see the warthogs, the head is also like glued to the body. So if there's any neck, I don't think so. And the reason I would say they do not have any necks, as you can all see there, Rosemary, they may not need to use a neck, unlike the giraffes, which will need their long necks to reach their food. So I would say the head is just glued to the top of the shoulders of the elephants, and maybe not having any necks. See, the branch is still being devoured, and sometimes they might bring the branch down and just get the bark from that branch. Not unusual to see the males on their own, like this one particular male. And he looks to me as a very prime male, and maybe later on he might join the females during breeding, and then normally after breeding the males go on their own. Occasionally you see 2 or 3 or 4 of them, or bulls staying together away from the cows. Still enjoying that branch. I've always said elephants are my favorite animals, because unlike Hosanna that we saw earlier, you might see Hosanna and enjoy him for a couple of seconds or minutes, then he goes flat. Same case would happen to the lions. But elephants is very unusual, or it's very difficult just to see them pose and doing nothing, unless in the middle, of the day when it's too hot and they're staying under shades of trees. But either way, you'll still see them doing something. You can see the branch that was brought down is still getting used. The back of it is almost gone. If you look at it carefully now, it has cleaned the whole back, and that's exactly what it was looking for, and not the branch, which may not have any nutrition value. How they are able to put that branch in the mouth and debark it using their teeth, I think it's very special. If you look carefully, you can see one tusk is longer than the other, which means this could be a right-handed elephant, because the right tusk is much shorter. Do you want to go and reach another one? And he raises his trunk and gets another branch, and then I'm sure he'll go through the same process of eating it. Let's find out what plants Sidon got in South Africa.
I've just left the little chief. Now I am heading much China Road. That is where I'm going to assist the bushwalk team in order to relocate the lion they saw earlier on. We might be lucky in that area. But I've just heard that the lion is walking very fast. So I am only seeing the signs of elephants everywhere, but no signs of other cats in the area except Hosanna there, and obviously the lion which has been spotted where we're going now. It's very quiet at the moment here where I am. It's drizzling a little bit here where we are at the moment. So now let's cross over to the bushwalk and see how their search is going.
Going very well. We've looked for our lion, and we found some kudu and some impala. There are the impala, just having a little frolic through there. None of them look particularly alarmed, none of them are shouting, and so the chances that they've seen a male lion are very slim indeed. I think that he has taken a great offence at our presence, this lion, and has disappeared off towards the north. Anyway, maybe sitters will be lucky to find him. And old Sebastian, who was on camera today, of course, was just saying that there is one very shy evoker male, and he even moves away from vehicles. So if he'd seen us on foot, that's probably why we didn't see him. Also, the bush was very thick, and so to come across a lion in thick bush like that, you really are going to struggle to see him. What we have here, of course, is an impala midden. a very nice collection of different coloured dungs. I suppose if you lived in an area like this and you didn't have access to fancy interior decorating stores, you might put bowls of this around your house because they have subtly different colours. I'm not sure why you would do that, but maybe you would. I'm not sure why people do half the things they do interior decorating wise. Anyway, the point of the midden is as a territorial marker to some extent for the impala. The males will come and defecate here. I also think they're used, because the females use them as well, and I think they use them possibly as some kind of communication device to say, well, this is who's in the area, and it also probably, by defecating in one place, they don't leave a trail to where they are, if you know what I mean. But I do find it slightly incongruous. I'm not entirely convinced of any of those reasons for why an impala should leave a midden, because they're not permanently territorial, and yet you can see there is fresh dung on this midden. Let us continue. We're going back now towards where we had the tracks of Tingana and Tandi and Tlalamba, and we'll see if we can't come across one of them. It always seems to be the case, though, that when there is a lot to look for, little is found. Yes, Safari Lover, it's exactly what I was saying there. I said, as Sebastian said, there is one very skittish Avoca male, and that's quite possibly the one that we saw. So that's what I was getting at, indeed. So I don't know if Sydney will manage to see him or not. He may, or he may not. See what else we can find of biological significance for you. Quite nice to see the oncoming summer. This is a leadwood tree, and you can see that it's got very pale green leaves. It's one of the obvious signs. And then also, you can see that this one has probably got a disease of some description. Some kind of growth disease at the end of its branches. That's interesting. And you can see these little things have died off. These little tufts of leaves that didn't come out properly have all died. So a diseased leadwood. Oiram, I know you wanted to see a leadwood, but I don't suppose you wanted to see a diseased leadwood, and now I found you a diseased one. Sorry about that. Also, of course, this time of the year we want to be looking for nests, because this is when the birds are nesting. And here is a nest. Nest, I think, is unoccupied. Looks like the old nest of a blue waxbill in Sisyphus bush. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a blue waxbill fly into the nest. I suspect you probably haven't. But it is quite astounding, because if we take a wide look at this Sisyphus bush intertwined with the leadwood, you will see that it doesn't look like there's a great deal of clear space between the outside and the inside of that nest. In other words, if you weren't very careful as a bird flapping your wings, you would likely get caught on thorns and possibly pinned, and then you'd get stuck, and then you'll die. But waxbills don't do that. They have the incredible skill to just fold their wings at the right time, shoop, into the nest. It's quite remarkable to see. I've only seen it once or twice. Yes. Louise says now maybe we can find a woodland kingfisher. Well, we could try, but they haven't started calling yet, you see. So I don't think we'll find a woodland kingfisher, but we might. The weather is now closing in on us slightly. There's a bit of rain coming from behind us. Anyway, we're going to head off towards the drainage system here, see if we can't get into some shelter while we go back to David, who's got something the Winos ate.
Well, it's funny how the rain in Africa will just sometimes start without any warning. Now, one of these buffaloes was brought down by the Olololos yesterday, and I thought I'll turn around and follow the buffaloes and find out if the Olololos also followed the buffaloes. And such a huge herd of buffaloes. What will happen after the migration of the wildebeests and the zebras are gone, the lions now will start bringing or hunting the buffaloes until maybe next year when they turn around and come back here. That's a season we call the green season, when they have to deal with such tough prey, because once in a while we have known the buffaloes also turning the tables and attacking or injuring the lions. Apart from the lions getting injuries from other lions when maybe they fight over territory or over mating rights, most of their injuries are caused by these big buffaloes. It's a mixed herd of both males and females, bulls and cows and a few calves in the herd. And when it is cool like this, they'll keep eating until it warms up. Then they're gonna slow down. And buffaloes being ruminants, then they'll stop or look for shade or somewhere near water, have a drink, and then start chewing cud. Very similar to the water buffalo. This is one of the most dangerous animals that you'll see or you'll get in Africa. In my village, my uncle used to tell me you could easily walk through a big herd of buffalo like this, but not meeting one or two bulls. The one moving the front there. And the bulk grazers, they'll be eating a lot. That's very cool. Now, those lions, I want to believe they're not very far from here. See that young calf there? And most predators will tend to chance or take the easiest route to food. And not once we have seen either hyenas or even lions choosing the young ones, like the calf that you see there, or sometimes the very old one. Or if they would pick one of them to be a bit sickly, predators will always single it out and hunt it. Then you're asking, is it warm in Africa all the time? I would say very quickly a big yes. And the reason why I would say that, we only have 2 seasons of rain, and we have the long rains, for example, here in East Africa, May, June and July, and the short rains that are on now. Apart from that, we have a season that is very similar to summer all around the year. So I would say, to me, in short, it's always warm in Africa all around the year. But we have 1 month that we call July, and July is our coldest month, and July to me, I would say it's winter. And July, we usually talk of temperatures that are below 10 degrees Celsius, and that's the coldest time when you see most of us having 5, 6 layers. But in general, we have warm weather all around the year. All right, buffaloes, we want to move forward and find out where these cats went from last night. We had them the whole day yesterday until late in the evening, but they're not where they were. All this area now is being ruled by big game. I'm talking about buffaloes, elephants, and not any cats, or even the zebras that you'll be seeing around here. I'm guessing the lions will keep following the buffaloes until next year. Has warmed up and the sun has really pushed up now. And I want us to see if we can cross this point and catch some elephants I've watched or seen from a distance. Buffaloes tend to drink a lot of water, and when you see them moving in a particular way, they'll be looking for water. MDR, what was the question from MDR, sorry? MDR, thank you very much for that comment. Yes, we have a beautiful home and a beautiful office to work in, and that's a very good comment. And MDR, if you're still staying there, I want to show you elephants and buffaloes in the same shot. So you see why you say we got a beautiful home and a nice place to walk in. How is that, James? Keep going forward, where we can get the buffaloes and elephant together. And they all mix at the same time. As James is leveling his camera, MDR, you see elephants and buffaloes all in one same area. They have a commonality here of feeding together. They make a very good gel, and so long as there's enough food for everybody, they have no issues amongst themselves. There's a herd of elephants that's coming down from up that escarpment, and I would guess that's a breeding herd, always led by a female, one matriarch, putting its trunk on top of that one, just being a bit playful there. Do you want to ride on your heavy trunk? Just pushing the other one like, I didn't like what you're doing. Krista, that is an interesting question. What is the internal temperature of an elephant? I'm not sure. I'll say elephants being mammals, just like us, we all have the same body temperature. Krista, I would be more than happy to confirm that much later. But my guess is if they're mammals like us, excuse me, and you have the same body temperature, we should all be doing about 35, 36.7, just like human beings. My guess is that should be their body temperature. But Crystal, I'll be finding out to be maybe 100% sure. But for now, let's take 36, like normal human body temperature. I'm not sure why they're being so playful there. They turn around from the direction they are walking, and then again going towards the hill. And one advantage of the Mara Triangle, it's so open that you can spot these animals from a distance. I don't know where they have gone in that little drainage area. Let me just move forward and see where they could have gone and what exactly they want there. Sometimes they'll go in an area to lick some salt or have a drink. Let me see where they have gone and exactly what they want to do. They've just crossed a certain drainage area and maybe changed direction. Not sure because of the buffaloes we have on the right. Let's see these buffaloes here on the right, James. Are they going for a drink? See the buffaloes there on the right. And also in the midst of the buffaloes, we've got loads of elephants, and I think they're all coming for a drink in that particular drainage area there. Buffaloes drink lots of water. Look at that. And how cute to see ellies and buffaloes all together. Duke, great comment, and we are doing a great work here, and possibly if we could spot a cheetah for you in this open area, just stay tuned. We are still out and about for, a long time before we finish the show. Keep your fingers crossed. We are working very hard to see as much game as we can. So don't go very far, Duke, as we watch these buffaloes getting in that little tunnel there to have a drink. It's like a little spring, and the buffaloes definitely we know, or they will know, having lived here for many years, when they need water, they'll always know where to source the water. Very good camera work there, James. And that's showing the expanse of the Mara Triangle. And some green bushes. With the rains here, it will remain very green for quite some time, and it could be a little bit dry with Sydney in South Africa.
It's very, very dry at the moment. You can see this impalas has just been right in front of us by the Buffelshoek Dam, where there is no water at the moment. All the impalas are heading back. They were just standing here looking at the dry dam. So this is the area where we are hoping to meet the male lion who has just been spotted by the bushwalk team earlier. We might get some rain this afternoon as the weather is promising. The problem is weather can be so very unpredictable. But when checking here, and now it's drizzling as I'm driving, but it's not too much. Just a little bit of drizzle is coming down. So maybe before the end of this month, we might start getting heavy rains in the area. Starian, the predators is very much difficult here in the wild in order for them to get used to us. But in the areas where predators get used to human, they do reallocate them and put them back in the real world so that they cannot interact with human, they can live their own life. So here in Juma, the animals are still wild. So there's just quite a lot of old evidence for the buffaloes in the area. So now let's cross over to James and hear what he's up to at the moment.
I am trying to get at some fruits. Do you see the fruits? They are the fruits, of course, of the bushman's grape. These are the grapes that apparently the bushmen used to use as grapes. I'm not sure if they made wine from them. They've just started to fruit. I think these ones will be pretty disgusting, I'm afraid. They've got the roast chicken taste, but they don't have the apple crumble as well. That's what they taste like. I can't imagine that these things ever made particularly good wine. I'm not sure that the Bushmen were known for their wine, really, much more for their art than their wine. They were sort of more culturally leaned towards art than they did towards wine, I think. Anyway, that is the Bushman's grape, and you can see it's growing as a creeper all over this Ziziphus mucrinata tree. Ziziphus. And the Ziziphus is, of course, the buffalo thorn, of which we speak many days, because it is very common in this area, and in fact its distribution stretches all the way up to Ethiopia and beyond. And there are those who believe, although how they would ever have figured this out, that the crown of thorns that Christ supposedly wore just before his untimely demise was made of a Ziziphus species. Not the same one. There is another Ziziphus species that is found in the Middle East. So it is quite interesting. Anyway, the reason that the Bushman's grape has grown so extensively here is that it is protected by the fallen Ziziphus bush. Normally they grow in scrubby little bushes. The Bushman's grape, or any greenery you can see here, is because it is protected by this tree. Very nice. Now, we have had quite a lot of alarm calling in this area, and we've come back down to where we saw the tracks of Tundi and Tlalamba going. So I'm not sure if we're going to get lucky. Normally, if there's alarm calling at tracks, it means you find absolutely nothing. Hello, Sweet History. There are lots and lots of plants that are found here and not in the Mara. The Balanites tree, for example, that we get here. Here's an example. Over here. This is a green thorn. Balanites mogami is distinct from the Balanites you get in the Mara, which is Balanites aegyptia, or aegyptica. And although they're the same genus, they're not the same tree, you won't find this one there. I suppose the most obvious difference, most obvious tree that you don't find in the Mara is the marula. They don't occur up there. And that's because the soils are simply too wet, too inundated. They like dry or well-drained ridge crest areas. Do the marula trees. There's the marula tree over there. Bad luck, Sebastian. Did you not see me trip over the same branch? No. There is a marula tree there. And you don't find those in the Mara at all. Nor do you find any of the bush willows. I don't think. You probably find the odd combretum, but not many. All right, I believe that Sidders has succeeded to find something other than Hosanna, his go-to cat at the moment. He's got an elephant.
You can see that now these elephants, they are very much relaxed. The weather is good for them. And this one I'm seeing in front of me is feeding on quite a lot of grass. This one is not breaking the branches, but the problem is taking the grass completely from the ground. So is now taking the growth points of the grass because it's taking everything from the roots and shaking the, look at that. So this is what causes problems, because when the grass is taken out of the soil, grass protects the soil when it comes to the issues such as soil erosion. When the top layer of the grass is taken out, it exposes the soil for both wind and water erosion. So grasses plays a very significant role in order to compact the soil when it's raining and when the sun is too hot, to avoid wind erosion. So when the elephant is taking the grass completely from the ground, is when, if all the grasses are taken out, there will be a problem with the erosion. So you can see that he doesn't want to eat the soil. He's shaking the grasses they are taking out because they are taking grass completely with the roots. And the roots for the grass is fibrous roots. The fibrous roots collect quite a lot of sand. It's unlike the tape root from the trees, where it's just one and it doesn't collect a lot of soil. MDR, the elephants normally is a stage which is coming to the elephants who are already matured, already more than 12.5 years. And that stage is coming once a year. So most these elephants, they do go on that stage once a year. Some of them, they just go for about 7 consecutive days. To some, it can be more than that. I've seen one of the very old elephants who has been on mast for quite a long time. I think that was a problem. So the elephants can be on mast much longer than is expected sometimes. So I can see these elephants are now starting to move. I am just going to pull forward and see what is the best position for us to see them. So now let's go to James, who has got something blooming.
Yes, something blooming. It is a blooming bush, a tree wisteria. Now, that doesn't really look like the normal, what do you call them, I suppose? There is a word for the bunch of purple flowers that a wisteria makes. I've forgotten what it is. Anyway, this is the first of the purple flowers on this beautiful tree wisteria. It has yet to come into proper leaf or into full leaf, but hopefully that will happen sometime fairly soon. And unfortunately, like many of the flowers out here, these don't last long. They'll probably last about a week, maybe 2, and then they're gone. And so all of the insects that are needed to pollinate these trees must act quickly. If anyone can think of the word that I am missing in my vocabulary, please do let me know. Now, as we know, these flowers, excuse me, those that are colourful like this seldom have any scent. This is one of those that has no scent. But if you look into the middle of it, it's definitely got very distinctive lines. Can you see those lines? Yeah. Now those lines, of course, reflect ultraviolet light, and that will attract insects which will come and then pollinate the tree wisteria over the 2-week period that it does flower. Very good. There's also a little insect there. Looks like a thrip. I believe it to be a thrip.
Where?
Just right on the end of that petal. I'll be amazed if you can actually see it.
Yeah, I think I see something.
There it is. There we go.
Oh,
Yeah?
yeah.
I think it's a thrip, everybody, but I can't tell for sure. I'd have to look at it under a microscope. A thrip belongs to a very ancient order of insects, and they are known as sort of crop pests in most parts of the world. But out here, they're just minding their own business on flowers. Thrips. Carol, you says it's a crocus of flowers. I don't think so. Maybe. Might be a crocus of flowers. It's not something I've heard of, but it could be. I feel like the word is in my vocabulary, but I'm not managing to find it, you know. Herbert has now changed direction entirely, looking for tracks of Tandi and Tlalamba. Lauren, you're wondering if any animals like to eat the petals of flowers? Yes, I've definitely seen flowers being eaten. Flowers are often devoured. I'm trying to think of an obvious example. Human beings eat nasturtiums in their salads. That's not a great example, but it is one example. Yes, I've definitely seen animals eating flowers out here. You'll see giraffe eating the flowers of the knobthorn trees. I thought I saw a leopard there, but I didn't. It was a log. All right, so this has gone from the very large down to the rodent.
Look at that, I've got the squirrel feeding on something. I found him on the ground and then, oh, he left it there. I found him on the ground and then he went up into that tree having something on his mouth and then he's eating. I think he dropped some of the pieces. He's following them on the ground there. So now he just got disappeared somewhere there. So that was a quick sighting. It was interesting seeing him going very fast, eating what he was eating there. I couldn't even see what it was, but I could see that he was eating something big. He was even battling to run with it, holding it on his mouth. So now I'm making my way back to the little chief. Maybe I might be lucky with him now active. There is quite a lot of elephants here in this area. I am seeing more elephants as I'm driving. They're just everywhere. It's quite a very big herd. Oh, look at the baby. Oh, this is a small baby. Look at that. A little elephant there. Look at that. Look at that baby is too small. So the babies are some of the reasons why elephants are not traveling long distances these days. Oh, look at the baby is going to battle to climb there. Look at that. It's trying. Look at that. It's battling to climb, but oh, it nearly fell, but managed it. So these babies don't have to travel long distances. That baby looks very small. Charlotte, this is so sweet. Look at that. So this baby looks very, very small. And he's one of the elephants who was looking heavily pregnant on the past couple of weeks. I haven't seen her for quite a while now. When I see her, if I can still recognize her, I will check if maybe this is her little one. So the elephants can be very much protective. They are little ones. They are much safer than a lot of other animals, as they don't leave their little ones behind and go for feeding and come back. They travel with them nice and close every time. So most of the animals like this, I have got another animal with a small baby here. Most of the animals like this one we are seeing now there, they give birth, and sometimes when they're feeding, they do hide their little ones, go and feed and come back. I have seen it also a few days ago. We found a little one unattended, and the mother was very far. So the impalas, normally they give birth and then they isolate themselves just a little bit in order to sniff the scent of the little one and to give the little one also an opportunity to sniff the mother so that they can be able to recognize each other when in a big herd. You can see that is also a small baby. So the babies who are coming by this time of the year, they are so lucky because the vegetation is starting to recover at the moment. Yes, water is still a challenge, but there are some of the artificial water holes where they are going, where they are having drinks. Just that both the prey and the predators are sharing the same water points. So these little ones, the chances of predation, they are very much high. Yeah, this is beautiful. Look at that. And he's so curious. Look at the ears. Inside the ears, just see there is black. So the mother, you must check after birth. After birth, you will see the mother, they've got to lick the babies, and they must have to also lick the anal region and the urinary organ. If they don't do that, those areas don't get activated. So they activate them as they're licking them. And licking helps them as well when it comes to the blood circulation. The little one is feeling cold. I can see there now. So the animals who gives birth during the winter season is the right season in order to give their little ones better adaptability on cold. You can see the body conditioning of the mother. Ray, I didn't get your comment very well. Ray is wishing the little ones all the best to survive. So when looking at the mother there, you can even see the ribs. We can be able to tell if this animal is in a good condition or not. If you can only see the ribs now, is telling you that the condition of this animal is fair. We have got good, fair, and poor. This condition is fair. When you cannot see the bones, and you cannot see the ischium, this bone that is showing off at the back there, which is like coming out, that is the ischium. The ischium is telling you that condition is very much poor. So, but now I can see that you can see the ribs and the ischium is not yet out completely. So when you don't see anything is when it's good. Look, the little one is milking now. Is having some milk. Look at the tip of the ears of the little one. So this little one has got quite a lot of predators by this time, because the jackals, they also aim them, and also the leopards, they also take them, including the hyenas. So we're going to carry on now to where we have left Hosanna and take it from there. So now look, we can cross over to the Masai Mara where David is driving.
Well, we have given up on the lions, but before I say what I have to do, in front of me there, I'm seeing some 2 ducks walking, and I will now not do the cuts anymore. I want to do a bit of budding. I want to do a bit of buds, and we got some ducks there, as much as we call them the Egyptian geese. I don't know how they ended up being called geese as much as I would call them ducks for me. And these are the Egyptian geese. Very monogamous, so even without getting any clues, I would maybe say without any fear, there could be a male and a female. And always found near water and not very far from where they are. To the right, there's a little water pan. And of the striking characters is their eyes that are always beautiful and very colorful looking. So below that bush there been a pan there of water, and most ducks or geese are associated with water. Very vocal, especially during breeding time. And I remember when I was in South Africa, we used to see some ducks in one of the dams, and they had some goslings that disappeared. And yeah, I now after the ducks you'd want to see turkeys. I think Thanksgiving was yesterday, and for those who are still awake and I did not wish them happy Thanksgiving, please receive happy Thanksgiving from myself and James. And I don't know how many of these would make to have a good turkey and have some nice meal for dinner on the table for a family of, say, how many, 10? Very similar. I would say the birds that would be similar to turkeys in Africa would be the ostriches. Did you hear that? She was calling and taking off. And the second one, very good job, James. They just moved or relocated, repositioned themselves to a different area. You'll always see them eating seeds or anything green as they move around. I was saying the most beautiful characters on this are their legs and the eyes. Look at the eyes. And you may think they usually do some nice makeup in the morning before going out to start teaching. Where is your friend? And there's always that characteristic dark spot on the belly, which I've always wondered whether it makes the difference from the male and the female. Could be looking for the mate who just flew away. Thank you very much for having seen that, and thank you for wishing me happy Thanksgiving. And not far from where these ducks are, we have a nest that I've been following that was built by very small birds. And these birds usually build the largest nest you'll think of in the world. And back up a little bit, James. Okay, let me give it a small little angle there. How is that, James? And that's the nest that I'm talking about. And it's built by small little birds that we call hammerkops that happen to build the largest nest in the world. But the hammerkops are not in here. They must have moved, but hopefully they will be coming back. Well, let's find out what James is up to and what we'll be talking about on Thanksgiving as he is leaving the dinner place.
I'm talking about dung on Thanksgiving, but the two are unrelated subjects. Now, we have heard a bit of breaking of branches and scuffling up ahead here, and we think that could be the buffalo. I can actually hear the footfall. So I'm going to be very quiet while I show you this. Many of you will have seen leopards rolling in dung before. And that is leopard hair. And Thandi and Tlalamba were here sometime last night, and they've gone off towards the east. But they were rolling here, and you can see they've scuffed up the road. And now they've walked off. I can just hear a hoof hitting the ground every so often. Sounds like this. They're just here. Something is just here. Could also be an elephant. Now the wind is not good for us. Let me just check. I know that the suspense is obviously killing you. This is not very fresh buffalo dung though. I mean, this is obviously, that was last night, the leopards. But the buff will hang around in the same area for a while. And remember, for a long time we didn't see buffalo here at all, and we became relatively blasé. I wish I could see what it is in there. Just listening carefully. Something walking on the ground, something swishing a tail. I think it probably is a buffalo. Let's stand. No, I can't see anything. All right, let's go back to Sidders. I believe Hosanna is having breakfast. There, elephant.
So you can see that now Hosanna is having some breakfast at the moment, lying down very nicely by this branch, and is now trying to eat, and that impala is still having quite a lot of meat there. So this is a great sighting now. The impala is still fresh. So don't get surprised, I am not alone at the sighting at the moment. Some other vehicles are arriving. So it's not easy from his positioning in order to cut these bones. I can see that he wants to divide that impala in two pieces. I'm just going to pull forward a little bit so that we can much better from here. So I can see that he doesn't have any competitor at the moment. It's just all by himself. So all the competitors, they are just ending under this very big jackalberry tree. Only if the father Tingana comes here is when the chances of high competition are very high. And if that happens, he might lose the kill. Smart. Unfortunately, he cannot explode. I can see
Well, I thought this morning, because the lions have become a bit elusive, I'll be doing birds now, and you have a bird party here of a grey-backed shrike and a white-bellied bustard. And many of these birds will be brought together by either food or water when you see 2-3 different species at the same spot. One of the differences I would say from these two is that the shrike tends to eat more of the insects, be they grasshoppers or locusts. Bustards should also do the same, but they tend to concentrate more on seeds from the grass or small little plants. And you notice how she blends in very well in the grass there. These species are one of the heaviest flying birds that we got in the world, the bustards. And if it was the male, because this is a female, to be a little bit bright in coloration than the female. You rarely see them fly. Definitely she caught something there. You'll always see them on the ground, and if you come out of the car, for example, she will still continue baying on the ground until you get so close. And of course, as I said earlier, they have a challenge of their weight, so possibly if they can, they like staying or remaining on the ground. And they'll fly and straight come down back to the ground. It's one of the birds that you rarely see perching on top of trees. She stealthily walks through the grass. Sometimes they'll walk like that to disturb any insect in the grass, for them to just grab, like the egrets. And sometimes when you miss to see the body, we can confuse them to be like snakes. in the grass. But I think James got some exciting mammal while he's still on foot.
We've got some elephants here. It's what was cracking the branches when you last saw me. It's a herd. The wind is not ideal and we're quite close to them. The wind's okay. We've walked around them, and that means that the wind is blowing kind of sideways across your picture, if you like. It's probably a herd of about 8 individuals feeding, oblivious of us at the moment. Now what we don't want is for them to become aware of us, and so we just need to be very careful here. Are we going to do an unscheduled, Louise? Okay, we're just setting up an unscheduled broadcast. Other elephants behind us calling. We did hear some impala alarm calling way away that we think probably was a result of Tandi and Tlalamba. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this very special morning here in the Western Kruger. My name is James and we're sitting here with a herd of elephants on foot. Please feel free to ask any questions that you'd like to. We are live on Friday morning, the 23rd of November, with a herd of Kruger elephants on foot. It's a very special feeling to be with these great giants. And what we're trying to do is make sure that they do not see us, that we remain inconspicuous, because they will be threatened by us if we were kind of out in the open, and we just want to observe them going about their business without being threatened by us or out seeing us. They might see us, but we're at a decent enough distance for it not to make too much difference. Hello Frank, all the way in Japan. You say a big salute to us. Goodness, it must be almost Saturday in Japan, I would imagine, by now. Probably not quite. Thanks for getting hold of us. I wonder if you've ever been out here. I know there are not many elephants in Japan. Now, probably about 8 elephants here. It'll be cows and calves. Maybe a young bull or 2. There's a biggish one just sort of to the right-hand side of your picture. He's the one that's closest by. I'm just going to check the wind every so often, making sure that the wind is not blowing towards them. It isn't, it's blowing from left to right, so I think it would be left to right on your screen. No, right to left on your screen, because you're obviously looking at it opposite. We're probably standing about 50 meters or so from them, which is about 150 feet. I'm just going to ask Sebastian, our cameraman here, to move around the bush. It is going to slightly obscure your view, but I don't want him standing out in the open. Elephants don't have very bad eyesight. They don't have great eyesight, but it's not awful. And so if we're standing like an upright human being in the open, they would see us. But tucked in behind these bushes and relaxed as they are, not kind of looking around for too much other than what they're going to eat next, we should be undetected. Now, what makes us so special, of course, is that those animals are enormous. They are potentially very dangerous, but as long as you treat them with respect and understand how they would see us as a threat, you can do this sort of thing very safely. And the point of it is that it gives you this deep connection to the natural world. And what I've always said is that it's like cracking open this shell that we've put around ourselves that shields us from wilderness. And being with elephants like this on foot cracks that shell open, and connects us with something very ancient within ourselves. Erica, well, I hope they won't trample and stomp us, because that would be very unpleasant. I really would not like to be trampled and stomped by an elephant. But no, as long as we remain undetected, and even if we were detected, their most likely reaction would be to run away. But we don't want them to run away, and we don't want them to run towards us and trample and stomp us. Yeah, Lee, that's exactly why I keep checking the wind, because they would smell us. If the wind was blowing onto them, there was no question that they'd smell us. They've got a very good sense of smell. We also have to be quite careful about noise. That's why I'm speaking very quietly, because if you start shouting around elephants, they'll definitely hear you. All right, I think we're going to move on from here. You can just see a grey shape in the bush beyond there. You can see why grey is such a clever colour to be, rather than khaki, for example. Now you can continue watching our drive on YouTube. You just go to YouTube and type in SafariLive. You'll find Sydney sitting with a leopard, I think, and David in the Mara, yes, the Masai Mara of Kenya, with elephants and lions. I'm not sure what he's with at the moment, so join us next time for another exciting broadcast. Alrighty, everybody, I think we're going to extract from the situation, which is quite windy, and we're not going to get another view, I don't think. So while we do that, let's go back across to Siddhar's and Hosanna.
So you can see now Hosanna is trying to come down from the jackalberry tree. He has not eaten much, as you indicated earlier that his stomach is about to explode. So I don't think he will be eating a lot here. So now he's resting in order to get more space again to have something, and he's cleaning himself at the same time. If he doesn't groom himself after eating, that is going to attract quite a lot of flies. Caroline, Hosanna will be as big as Tingana. He might even grow bigger than that. This cat is healthy and is feeding on a very nice diet. He's feeding on a very healthy diet. So he might grow very big. But you can see he's big already. It's about getting to 3 years now, but if you look at his body size and his muscles, you can see that he's very big, and also the size of the kind of prey is able to drag up into the trees. You can see that this cat is powerful and he's getting big. It will be very interesting soon as he starts sowing. So I haven't heard him sowing. So there might be a little bit of competition between him and the father, but obviously chances of him to be kicked off from this territory, they are very high. So I don't want to miss Hosanna. Let's hope he doesn't get chased away, or let's hope he doesn't try and challenge his father for territorial reason. Since lapwing, I have witnessed Hosanna on several occasions eating grass. And I know the reason why Hosanna is eating grass. The first reason is that these cats, they groom themselves. When it's grooming, it can be able to swallow some of the hairs from his body. And apart from that, when eating an animal, mostly you will see they do use their coarse tongue in order to get rid of the hairs from the animals before they eat. And when they are doing that, is when they are ingesting some of these hairs, which then develops the hair balls in the stomach. And when there is hair balls in the stomach, for them to get rid of the hair balls, they must then go and eat the grasses. Grasses, green grass specifically, if they eat a lot, it makes them sick. When these animals are sick from the grass, it makes them to vomit. Some of these animals, you will see them vomiting some of the grasses, and when they eat just a little bit of grass is when they will have to get rid of the hair balls and other indigestible bones and other things that are giving them problem by their intestines. So the grass juice is also very rich in some of the vitamins. So they don't only use the grasses in order to get rid of the hair balls or in order to clean the digestive tract. They also get some of the nutrients needed by the body. They are not grazers, but they go and get these nutrients. Just like us, there are some of the things that we eat, we consult only when having a problem with some of the deficiencies. So these animals, it works the same. When lacking of some of the mineral deficiencies, for them to have some supplements, they must then go and eat some of this vegetation in order to get hold of that. So you can see now he is resting. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is now having some gazelles.
Well, Sydney, stay with Hosanna, and I'm sure Lou in the final control is going to remind Sydney that Hosanna was my first ever leopard to see in South Africa. Leopards have been known to go for big prey, small prey, and on the frame there, on the screen, you have two types of prey or species of animals that leopards would hunt, as in especially here in the Mara Triangle. The small ones are the Grant's gazelle, which I've been trying to wonder whether their numbers have been coming down, and I do not see them as many as I used to, like 10 years ago. And I think the numbers could have been going down. I do not know whether they have too much predation going on. But the other big ones there are called the toppies, and toppies are very similar to the sesebes in South Africa. Leopards, like fully grown males, could be anything 60, 70 kilograms in weight. But I have seen leopards here in the Mara bringing up like a toppy, which could be 2 times the weight of a leopard. I'm talking about almost 300 pounds. And they'll drag it up all the way on top of a tree. The grants are definitely a lot easier. And one of the major differences between the grants and the tommies, if you look on the bum of that grand gazelle that's moving away there, it's white both below and above the tail. While the Thompson gazelles, which are very popular with the cheetahs, is white only below the tail. Not sure I saw any grand gazelle when I was in South Africa, but we've got loads of them here. James earlier was talking of plants that you'd see in South Africa and not here in the Mara. Maybe I'm also talking of animals that we may see here and not see in Juma. Grants, I don't completely remember having seen any, but I'm sure they could be in certain areas of the Kruger Park. But definitely we do not have the toppies in South Africa. And yeah, Lou was in the final control doubts, but toppies are only found in East Africa, and the equivalent of the top here would be the sesame. Flicking the tails is like always a reflex for most antelopes, and you can see more of it on the grand gazelle than the toppy. Ear is the same. And it's not always because of the flies, but I think with all the wetness and the rains going on, the ground is wet. Yeah, and I think Lou agrees with me that the only gazelles that we could be getting in South Africa would be the Springboks, which would be the national. And when talk of the Springboks, we're talking of the rugby team. I'm sure you all know the Springboks with the rugby team of South Africa. So maybe the Tommies and the Grant could be in East Africa coming upwards, talking of Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda. The Springboks would be equivalent to our Thompson gazelles here. And definitely much smaller than the Grants. A little scratch there in that foot. There's another boy, you can tell. Scratch on the neck. So both sexes of the Grand gazelle will have the horns, but males will have much bigger racks of horns than the females. Not as fast as the Thompson gazelles. Are you digging something there? Or were you trying to stretch your left foot? Sometimes they'll dig for tubers on the ground. Another scratch. What are you reaching for? You won't have a rest. Well, after eating so much, it's time to have a little break and do a bit of grooming on his fur. Not very far we have another herd of buffaloes. So we've got buffaloes, toppies, and the grunts. Still pretty cool for me, and that's why all these animals are very active. Karen, you'd like to know the difference between a shuka and a kikoi. Now, depending on where you are, I would say in Kenya, Karen, the shukas are worn by people that we call the Maasai. And kikois are mostly worn by Bantu people towards the coast. And they're used mainly along the beach. And I would say kikois are much lighter. If you feel kikois are much lighter in the texture. And shukas are much heavier. And a shuka is meant to be like a whole dress, a whole cover that would cover the whole body. But a kikoi is much softer, and I would say kikois are more for ladies than gentlemen. That's the main difference between the kikois and the shukas. Shukas could be more inland Kenya, and the kikois could be more to the coast. All right, Karen, and if you come to Kenya one day, you'll get both the shukas and the kikois. There's a group of people that we call the Swahili people, and the Swahili people are found along the coast of Kenya, and they have been known to use kikois for very many years. And there's so many styles of tying the kikois. Shuka, I think it's only one style. You either put one knot here and you're done. But for kikois, they say they got 100 ways to tie the kikois, from the head to the top and to the bottom. Maybe sooner or later I'll be telling James to get a kikoi. I'll be wearing a shuka and James will be wearing a kikoi, and we'll have me and James one of the days out of the car and the camera framed on both of us. James, do you agree? James is telling me I'm talking a lot of nonsense. But I'll know the day I'll get him on camera without his knowledge. Yes, Lou, why not? And because he's just taller than me, I'd want to be asking him why, when he's free and not filming, he doesn't play basketball. All right, no lions for me today, but Sydney has kept us busy with Hosanna.
So you can see now Hosanna is looking for some place to rest, and now he managed to find a branch, but he can't fit the stomach nicely there. Look, he's got a pillow there. He's got this small branch, small stick, he's using it as a pillow, and he has been there for a while now. Look at that. Now you can see he's leaning against the pillow. So if he's not comfortable there, he will come down and lie down on the ground. Safari Sally, the most memorable experience, I've been close to the leopard. It was on foot here in Juma when I was walking Osana during the special broadcast while he was hunting a scrub hare. That was the closest I've been to the leopard on foot. But driving, yes, I have been interacting with leopards a lot before that. Walking is difficult. Leopards are very much shy, and normally in quite a lot of areas you will see them at night. During the day it's difficult to see them. So it was a privilege for me to walk very close with Hosanna that day. So you can see that now he is not worried about anything. But animals around here, they are still panicking. Look here, Senzo. You see there's an impala right here on our right side moving to the water hole. There, this impala is trying by all means to check by this jaggalberry tree. So that is one of the old impalas. I can see the size. So it means this impala might be knowing that this cat is somewhere on top of the trees, because he has been there for quite a while and he's not walking straight. You will see he's going to stop again and look at this side. So animals are not comfortable around here. So that is one of the impala rams. So now we're just going to be here and see what Hosanna is thinking about to do, but I don't think he's going to go back for eating purposes now. Now it's time for him to rest, just that his resting position is interesting. Let's hope he doesn't dream and fall from that branch there. Yeah, there is quite a lot of birds calling at the moment, but none of these birds calls serve as an alarm call. When they are giving an alarm call, it's a different. You can hear that an alarm call is much more aggressive than the calls that we are hearing. And they join each other at the same time. And other animals as well join that. So you will just hear noises from everywhere, which is something very good, that animals don't speak the same language, but they depend on each other. So now let's go back to the guided walk.
Righty, here we have a bracket fungus, which is of course growing on a piece of wood, and it is devouring the piece of wood. That is what the fungus is doing. And it's part of an interesting group of fungi called the polypores. Now, most of them are not necessarily too edible, but they're non-toxic. There are a few genuses or genera that are toxic. I have no idea which this one is, so I'm not about to have a bite of it. And those little things that you can see there, the bits of external fungus, are called conchs. I think that's quite nice, don't you? A conch. That's what those are there. And apparently they're an extremely important part of wood decay in forested areas, or in this case a woodland area. Very nice. There is some sort of research that shows that they can be useful from a medicinal point of view in even cancer treatment, but obviously that's, you know, to say something is useful for cancer treatment is to say it's just much too broad to be a useful statement. But there is research going on that says that the bracket fungus can be used for some forms of cancer. Now, we do get lots of them in this part of the world, bracket fungus, but very little is known by many people about exactly the species, and there are over 1,000 species worldwide of these bracket fungus. And that's all I have to say about bracket fungus, actually. I can't think of anything else that I know about them other than they look like brackets or shelves. Oh, I see. There we go. Thank you, Louise. She was going to ask why it's called a bracket. Well, it looks like a bracket that's been stuck to a wall or a shelf. So bracket or shelf fungus. Very nice. Conchs. Those are called conchs. I'm going to call somebody in camp a conch when I get home. I'm going to say, you are a gormless conch. And let's see what they say when I call them a gormless conch. Alina, I'm afraid I missed your question as I was planning on who to call a gormless conch when I returned to camp. Where are you going? Kalina, you want to know when we're going to see land snails? When we've had a lot more rain. They will be sitting pretty, or hopefully pretty, underneath bushes, in some burrows maybe. If they can find a hole, they will go into a hole for the winter. They put a lot of sand over the foot so that they don't dry out, and there they will wait until it gets much wetter than it is right now. Ooh, we can see Sydney and Senzo with Hosanna. Now, we don't want to be the gormless conchs who chase Hosanna out of the tree. So we're going to give them a wide berth. I'm just showing Herbie that Hosanna is there with the vehicle. You can actually just see his tail. Can you see his tail sticking out of the tree there?
No, sorry.
If you come over here, you'll see his tail. Senzo doesn't have a tail. He's got odd socks, but no tail. He does have dreadlocks as well. You can just see the tail. And you can see the head, actually. Yeah, you can see quite a lot of them. Yes, very nice. Apparently he's fast asleep and has not seen us, which is good. I don't think at this distance we're probably a good 100 meters, 150 meters from him, almost 500 feet. I don't think that he would come out of the tree, knowing us as he does. I think he would just sit there. Cool. Let's move on from here, and let's go back to Gigi for a last little while. He is driving now. I think he's probably quite hungry.
Well, our lions today have said no pictures, no profiles, nothing. And we have told them fine. But we might have some 2 pigs here on the left before we say goodbye to the Mara. Let me see whether James can get these 2 pigs here on the left. And the youngsters to me, and every time you switch off the engine, they take off. There they go. Oh, the mother is there. I was wondering why they could be on their own at that particular age. Warthogs, a mother with her 2 piglets, getting advantage of the short grass and the little spring around here. Very nutritious. Sometimes digging roots of grasses or tubers. And they must be feeling very good. They sometimes kneel down like that to be able to dig, or the kneeling gives them a bit of leverage on their necks, and they can scoop out anything they want. When you see them around the camp, sometimes we call them lawn mowers, because they tend to keep the grass low. That's the mother to the right. And you see she's also on her knees. And these are the warthogs. Sometimes we call them the flowers of this area when you see them so many together. I was answering a question earlier, I can't remember from who, on whether elephants got necks. And I quoted, I remember having talked of warthogs, and I said, I also don't think warthogs have any neck. It's like their heads are glued to their bodies. And maybe because of that bit, or lacking that bit of the neck, Sometimes I think it makes it easier for them to go down on their knees, either to reach the grass and also having a good leverage if they need to dig something from the ground there. They have the right angle to do that. Very popular with leopards, very popular also with cheetahs. While she is walking away, as I might also be walking away. And from the Mara Triangle, for myself and James, we're going to be saying goodbye and wishing you a lovely day and going back to our entertaining Hosanna with Sydney.
So you can see that I'm still here with Hosanna. I haven't seen him yet with a warthog. The only one I saw with a warthog before, it was a Tingana. So Hosanna, you can see, is slowly steering the eyes much more towards this side. Maybe he's seeing something. If he's not seeing an animal, he might be seeing the bushwalk team, as I've just seen them far behind us crossing to the other side. Maybe he might be looking at them crossing from that side. So don't get surprised. I've just been joined by the other vehicle just now. Look at that. You can see that the small branch is opening at the moment. Look at that canine there. So those are very dangerous weapons when this animal is taking something down. Can see he's enjoying his sleep, leaning against that small branch. So you can see that the teeth are so very much clean because he's eating. Every time he's eating, he's cleaning them. But maybe he's gonna use the stick as a toothbrush there. It has been a lovely morning with quite a lot of sightings all the way from Kenya, Masai Mara, as well as the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park here in South Africa. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. We will be back again this afternoon, and hopefully the afternoon will be way much better than this morning.